ticket.
5 o'clock, Prater in the ball game. Thanks for being with us here on KTIK The Ticket. Welcome our video audience. This is our Dollar Loan Center video segment, and we'll open everything up. 208-424-9300. Prater has a column at BNN that he wrote today. Probably wrote it last night, but it was released today. And just about Maddux Madsen, Prater, and you dissected, you took apart, you split the stats up, and gave us a very interesting perspective. We asked our listeners, just gut feeling, how do you think Mad Dog's going to do tomorrow night? I'll start one. Chuck from Gooding says 3 touchdowns, 1 to Camper, 1 to Bolt, and 1 to Genty. Good stuff, Chuck, on Maddux Madsen right there, Prater. Let's get back to you a second, your column, and holy smokes, if there's one dude that just needs to have a terrific game Friday night, let's just start that conversation with old number 4, Maddux Madsen.
And he's been playing great the last couple of weeks. He's been playing really, really good football. And in the 2 big games of the season, Oregon and Washington State, he was okay in the first half against Oregon. He was bad in the second half, although coaches use the word inconsistent. I'll go ahead and use the word bad. Against Washington State, a little bit of good, a little bit of bad, but he's really kind of clicked. He's not always going to satisfy Dirk Cutter, who's a perfectionist in the same column. Dirk Cutter, even the most recent game, Hawaii, some good, some not so good. Still needs to be more consistent, still working on ball location. That was one thing that specifically Dirk Cutter talked about, getting the ball to the wide receiver in the right spot, whether that means coming from the right, the left, underneath, over top, horizontally, vertically. He kind of broke it all down. So Maddux Madsen is clearly a work in progress, but he certainly is getting better all the time. This is big game number 3. How will Maddux Madsen respond after being very inconsistent in big games number 1 and 2 for Boise State?
You agree, because you said it yesterday, that, because I said the same thing, or I agreed with you, the loser of tomorrow night's game won't go to the tournament. They might win the Mountain West still. They might do fine, but they're not going to the CFP 12 tomorrow night's loser. You still there?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the possibility of crazy things happening, and yeah, there's still an outside shot, but yeah, I think this is an elimination game. Absolutely.
I do too. And I'll tell you this, they're never going to let Mad Dog forget it if they don't win tomorrow and he doesn't play well. You know how it is in this town.
Yeah.
They will go back to this game and they will reference it for year in, year out. It'll almost be like Joe Southwick taking a leak off a balcony. Like they'll just never drop it. And it's gonna suck for him, and it's gonna stink for a lot of things, man. I hope that's not the case. I mean, think about Maddox. It doesn't ever have to be about the stats with him, with this era and this team. Genty's got all the stats, man. We don't care about receiver stats. Don't care about tight end stats. Don't care about quarterback stats. Win the game. Don't turn the ball over. And you know what? If you could bring your best in the biggest games, then in this town, you will live forever. Mad Dog real estate, Mad Dog burrito, like it all is a thing. And Mad Dog, and he's got all this. Like if he just can win on this thing, Prater, he doesn't need stats to come with it for me. Just win and play well. And there's something about certain quarterbacks. We used to call it clutch in the 90s. And I don't ever hear anybody say that word anymore in sports, but a quarterback, you got to be clutch, man. Like your boy Terry Bradshaw always played well in the big games. He was clutch. Maddux Madsen, can he play well in the big games? Can he be clutch tomorrow night? 208-424-9300. Let us know your thoughts on this sucker, Mike Prater. But yeah, he can start with actually having a good game against a good team, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're not wrong, but I also don't think he needs to be clutch. He's got that pretty nice insurance policy in Ashton Genty. And the 2 stats that do matter to me are the same 2 stats that probably matter to the coaching staff, the sacks and the interceptions. And that's one thing that's keeping Maddux Madsen clean. Maddux Madsen's never really even come close to a 300-yard game. I think he's got a 286 or a 276.
Last year
I'm not sure.
Okay.
He's never had a 300-yard passing game. We know that. And that never comes up because you're right. Nobody cares about how much yards Maddux Madsen is passing for. But we do know that he's 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 2 sacks. He's very, very clean. He's taking the ball. He's taking care of the ball. As Dirk Cutter said on Monday, The fact that he's not creating any negative plays is directly feeding into our 48 points a game. And you have to take that with not a grain of salt, with a lot of power, because that is important. So Maddux Madsen, again, doesn't have to be Superman. That's a stupid phrase that Spencer Danielson throws out there all the time. It's not stupid. You don't have to be stupid or Superman. You just have to be yourself, but it's required to be your best self. That's exactly what he says. Maddux Madsen needs to get a little better. He needs to be his best self tomorrow night, take care of the football. And one of these days, he's going to pop for 300 yards. One thing about UNLV's defense, statistically on paper, they're one of the best in the country. You know, our handicapper, Lee Sterling, talked about they haven't played anybody, and they really haven't played anybody great. So maybe it is a paper tiger. But on the back half of that defense, they're dead last in giving up passing yards. They're giving up almost 300 passing yards a game.
Worse than Boise.
Some of that is matchups because they're stopping the run, so you have to go over the top and pass against these guys, and they're giving up big plays. So I think there's a chance that Maddux Madsen could play just as well as Ashton Jenney tomorrow night.
By the way, 280. That's his career high. It was Georgia Southern week 1.
Okay.
Fresno last year, 258 in a loss. I don't know if the 300-yard game is coming this year. It depends. I mean, the situation's going to have to call for it, right? Meaning maybe Genty isn't that game getting absolutely everything he wants and more, and you got to lean on Mad Dog. But I would love Mad Dog to earn and build and get the persona of tough, gritty, do whatever it takes to win. I want people to say in 10 years about Maddux Madsen, he was a winner. To me, that's like the ultimate compliment you can give a quarterback. He was a winner. And I hope they say that about Mad Dog, because if Ashton Jenney doesn't get to that playoff and Ashton Jenney doesn't get to that Heisman because they have a stinker in San Jose one day because the quarterback has 5 turnovers, all this stuff, if this gets in the way of this Ashton Jenney celebration, it's going to be an issue, Prater. The Bronco Nation will want a finger to point at somebody for why Ashton Jenney isn't where they think he should be. And if Mad Dog can win games, hold on to the ball, I want this kid to play well. I really do, Prater. I want this kid to play well. I hope he does. But as you pointed out in your column, which people need to read, when they've played good teams, you know, Maddox hasn't done a hell of a lot to help.
No. And again, just manage the game, hand it off to Ashton Jenney, take care of your business. No sacks, no interceptions, and you're going to be okay. 47% against Oregon and Washington State, averaging 166 passing yards a game. In the other 4 games, 74% passing, averaging 235 yards a game. So there's a clear difference here.
30% points?
I think UNLV is somewhere in the middle. They're not anywhere near as good as Oregon and Washington State, and they're not anywhere near as bad as some of these other teams. Although Georgia Southern's been playing good football lately. They're undefeated in the Sun Belt, and they came close to beating Boise State in that game toward the end there. So maybe we need to include that as a quality opponent, but I'm not quite going there compared to Oregon and Washington State. Maddux Madsen has done most of his stat work against the 4 worst teams on this schedule. It's time for him tomorrow night to step up.
Play well in a big game, on a big scene, on a big stage against a big opponent. 208-424-9300. Text us and let us know what your thoughts are on Mad Dog. What do you want them to text us, Prater? What they're going to do with Mad Dog? We want Mad Dog texts only.
I'm going to change the subject a little bit because I get a big kick out of you, my friend.
What, did I flip-flop? Did I say something totally different?
This is just me being an old, stupid newspaper guy. But
what?
And I can honestly say in 40 years of covering sports, I've never called anybody by their nickname. And you call Mad Dog all the time.
I get it from Cutter.
Yeah, so I can't do it. I got to call them by their first name or their last name. I would never refer to him as Mad Dog.
So okay, when you were in the Bay Area and you were covering the Golden State Warriors, you said Irvin Johnson. You didn't call him Magic.
That's different. That's different.
Why? Well, that's a nickname.
Yeah, that became his real name. I'm not going to call Tiger Eldrick. I'm gonna call him Tiger.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I'm just giving you a little bit of a little bit of a hard time. You love throwing out those nicknames.
I do. I love it. And Magic Johnson is the greatest nickname of all time. The key to a good nickname is a very common last name, like Squeaky Johnson. Like whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Poo Poo Smith.
You can have Poo Smith. I'm taking Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods.
That's better than Magic Johnson to me. Tiger Woods, perfect.
Best nickname ever. Tiger Woods, Magic Johnson, or what?
Mad Dog.
Prater in the ball game. JP, let's stay with Boise State at UNLV and give everybody a nice little edition of no-brainer brain scratcher talking this game. How about a little Las Vegas stuff too, JP? Let's have some fun. Prater in the ball game.
This is Ticket Traffic.